I am out here in Fountain hunting for some bots to see if we can find something over in Tico space. We're going to warp through this gate here. Oh, looks like we got an enemy. Oh, we got supers. Okay, gate camp. That's okay. We're just going to head back towards the gate. Let's turn on that afterburner and get the inertia stabilizer on. Let's head back, only a few kilometers away, so it should be pretty quick. Should be easy to get through.
Attack.
Oh. Well, it looks like Fountain's clear. Hello pilots and welcome back to another Eve Echoes video. I am Gromlin and I am out here in my Annihilator and I've been challenged to a rematch, another 1 vs 1 against Battlecry. So you know what that means.
It's time to duel!
That's right. So while he gets set up with his Cobra, I'm going to go over a couple of the changes that I made to the Annihilator since the first fight that we had and I lost. So first off, I've gone a lot more defensive. I wanted to up my resist, so I have 2 adaptives and 1 reactive hardener in the low slots. I've also added a battery just to help me not run out of capacitor. That was one of the biggest things that happened to me in the first fight, was running out of capacitor with that repair mod active. I've also changed my ability in the high power coil, the level 30 ability. The first fight I was going with the speed reduction just so he wouldn't be able to kite me, but this time I'm going to go with the resist reducing ability to try and see if I can do a little bit more damage with these snub nose rifles. And we're going to stagger them to try and keep that resist debuff up 100% of the time. I've got a level 10 GU for the NOS, so that's going to increase our capacitor drainage, and I'm going to remember to use my Dragon Chant core this time as well. So we'll see how this goes this time around. So we're going to start off at about 20 kilometers, so I'm going to want to get my web on him as soon as possible and close that gap. My optimal range is about 9 kilometers, so we're going to want to try and get within that range to take him out. Uh-oh.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry.
Looks like he's adjusted his fit a little bit as well. He's got 2 tracking disruptors on me, which is going to reduce my range dramatically. So not only are we going to have to get within 9, we're going to probably have to get in even closer to apply any damage. He's already into my armor here, so we're going to turn on at least one of our armor repairs with that armor mod in the mid slots to try and get it through. And yeah, he's doing so much damage to me with that bombard implant. We're going to have to go with both armor mods and see if we can keep up with the amount of DPS he's able to put on us. He's also got 2 neutralizers on us as well, which means that our double NOS is not going to be able to keep up with both newts. Last time he was only running 1, but this time he's got 2. So again, we're going to have capacitor issues. I'm going to select his drones here, but I'm not actually going to go for him. I'm going to go for the straight DPS. Last time when I wasn't bursting him down, I was pretty much able to get halfway through his armor. So this time I'm going to focus purely on him and see if we can break through here. But it is not looking good. Oh my goodness, he is so freaking tanky. I popped that Dragon Chant ability to try and get rid of some of his neutralizer drain, but he's going to be able to lock us back pretty quick and get it right back on top of us. So it's not really going to help us for a whole lot of time, and the amount of DPS that I was gaining from that is still not able to help us break through his shields. I know he's going to be shield tank, but it looks like he's almost completely a passive tank, and it's just so much health to try and get through with strong resists. We've caught up a little bit on our armor repair, so to save some capacitor, I'm going to turn off one of them. You can see I got 5,600 DPS there, and I'm just not able to break through. We're fast forwarding the fight now because this is going to be kind of a drain. It's going to be a capacitor warfare fight, and since he's a passive tank, even with my battery and double NOS, those 2 neutralizers are just going to completely drain me out. It would have been interesting to see if I could keep up with just 1 neutralizer on me with my double NOS going, but unfortunately he's been able to outmatch my changes by changing some stuff himself and completely kept up with us. So we're down to about 30% capacitor. I haven't even reached half of his shield yet. He's still sending those drones out, recalling them, getting those bombards off of us, so we're just not able to heal through this and keep up with our capacitor. That long cooldown on the battery is going to really hurt us because we can't get it back up again, and yeah, our NOS is just not able to keep up. We'll let this play out a little bit longer just to see how much I can push. Maybe he's going to run out of capacitor with those double newts on us. Not 100% sure because there's no way to know how much he has left, but I do know that the drones and the missiles that the Cobra uses don't take capacitor, while our weapons are going to require it as well. So just running all these mods at the same time with the extra repair cost from having that repair on us, it's just going to take up so much capacitor that even with a battery, we're not going to be able to hold out here. You can see he's starting to really break through my armor here. We're getting down. Even with double armor repairs and armor output, GU, I'm not able to keep up with the Cobra's damage, which is really impressive because he's been able to build it so he has a massive amount of tank and enough damage to out DPS me. Even with 5,600 full hot DPS, 385,000 extended HP, and about 75% resist across the board, my Annihilator is just not able to keep up, and I'm going to hit my capacitor limit here pretty soon. Luckily for me, this fight is only to hull, so I'm not going to lose the Annihilator this time, but man, just cannot keep up with the amount of damage and tank that this Cobra has. It'll be interesting to see his fit after this to kind of see how it compares. I know he probably spent more on his ship than I do on mine because I just kind of wanted a cheap fit thing to throw out there for PvP purposes, but still, the amount of damage he's able to take with the ship that I fit for primary offense and the amount he's able to dish out with the extra defense that I've added is really impressive. So good fight to Battlecry on there. That's another loss for me.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Taking a look at his fit here, you can see he's running the same resist mods as me, but he's also got 2 large generators, which is going to increase his passive regeneration dramatically. In the mid slots, he's got those 2 tracking disruptors and 2 neutralizers that we saw earlier. Engineering rigs are standard capacitor rigs just to keep him going, and he's went with the integrated rigs for his defense. You can see here just a ton of resist and extra HP for his shield. So maybe next time we fight, I'll have the guts to integrate my Annihilator, but it's probably going to be a lot of the same thing. The Cobra is just such an overpowered battleship at this point in the game. Moving our way back out to nullsec to enjoy my new favorite hobby, it's going to be some bot hunting. Now I've stumbled on an anomaly here with a Raven Navy issue, but also a Garmer and a Succubus, and that can only mean one thing. Another bot hunter is out here and he's gotten to the target before me. Looking at the local list, I actually recognize the name because Veggies has joined my Discord where we share our tips and tricks and kill mails for other bots that we've attacked, and you can browse and see my bot hunting bounty competition. If you're interested in participating in that, feel free to join my Discord. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video, or you can just contact me directly on Discord and I can send you an invite from there. So landing in the anomaly here, we can see Veggies taking care of this Raven Navy issue. He's been able to catch it in the anomaly because these things will warp back to the Citadel and come straight back to the same anomaly after about 6 minutes of being logged off. So we've been able to time it out pretty good, along with other people who have been trying out this bot hunting strategies that we've been posting. It looked like we just caught the tail end of his finishing off that Raven Navy issue. Using a frigate or 2 frigates even is another great strategy to be using for this because you know which anomaly they're going to be warping back to after you log out and leave the local list. And soon after, we got the kill mail from Veggies. This is the Raven Navy issue for 11.5 billion. Very similar fit and build to all the other ones that we've been killing out here up in In's Mother. Next week, I'll put a video together showing who ended up getting the highest score on the bounty chart, as well as other videos that were sent to me from hunters for this competition. So let's change systems and look for our own bot. Yep, we scanned down a Raven Navy issue here, and we're going to go ahead and warp to the anomaly. But oh, look at this!
Oh my god!
I know him. I know him.
If you saw my last video, you probably noticed the Raven Navy issue was able to dock up because I trapped him in the bubble a little bit too close to his paws. Well, I made a note of him in my contacts so we can see there. It's the same player. I went ahead and reported him, but it looks like he's still up to his same tricks. But because we know that this is the same ship, same player, he's probably going to be doing the same behavior and warping to this pause just like he did last time. So we're going to go ahead and camp out at this one, but we're going to have to get a really good angle from the anomaly that he was at last. So we'll open up our star charts and we'll see where that scan was coming from to try and align best with that last anomaly that he was in. We'll hit approach here just so that we can see which anomaly he was ratting in. Angle our camera up a little bit and you can see it was that one right there that's highlighted. So we'll go ahead and start approaching in that direction. And this time we're going to try and create a little bit more distance between his dock up spot and where we stop him with our bubble. We don't want him docking up. The best way that I've found to do this is to just angle your camera so that you can see the exact center of the dock in spot and make sure that that lines perfectly with the anomaly that you think that they're coming from. And then you're going to want your ship to be right in the middle of that. If it's not directly in a straight line, you're probably not going to stop them from warping back. So now that we're in a pretty good spot, let's go ahead and log out and see if we can catch him after about 5 or 6 minutes. Logging back in here, and we're going to try and land as fast as we can. I have 3 hyperspatial rigs attached into my engineering slots to try and get this warp speed down as fast as possible to warp back to the spot where we logged out at. And as soon as we land, we're going to want to put up that bubble, and hopefully we can catch him before he's able to hit warp and come back to his pause. And again, what I like to do is scan the system again to try and see if he's changed anomalies or if he's undocked at the right time. We got to make sure that we have our timing down right. So yeah, we can see 10 signals there. We'll go ahead and solve the first puzzle here. Should be pretty easy because it's just 1 signal. And there it is, the ship has warped away from that, and there he comes. Oh, we missed it. Okay, looks like he's changed anomalies, so we're gonna have to find a better spot here. He probably was too close to finishing that other one, and it went ahead and moved him to a different anomaly. So we'll have to get into a better line and try and see what anomaly I scan down and get more in line with that one and try it again. This is going to take a lot of readjusting, especially because I have to be on the other side of the citadel, or the other side of the pause, which is where he came from. So you can't just be directly on top of it. You have to be between the anomaly that they're coming from and the station in which they're going to be docking up. So now that we're about on the right side of the pause, let's go ahead and open up our scan here and make sure which anomaly he was coming from so that we can directly line up with that anomaly. A lot of the times these things are undocking after about 5 or 6 minutes and going back to the exact same anomaly that they were on when you entered the local list. So we're going to start approaching that anomaly with our afterburner on, try and create some space so that we can catch him a little bit of distance away from this thing. We don't want to catch him right next to it. They'll just dock right back up. Even though we have that scrambler in the mid slots, we know that they have 4 warp stabs, so we're probably not going to be able to hold them from docking up, even with just the scrambler. So we'll zoom out, we'll head towards that anomaly after we get close to about 100 kilometers away. I think that's about the max is going to be 150, but I like to keep it safe and go about 100. And we'll just make sure that the base center directly aligns with that anomaly, and we'll try to catch him in the in-between. So I know last video I said that these are going to be pretty much free kills, and for the most part they are, because they are not going to fight you back whatsoever. The only downside though is that it takes a lot of time to set up. Sometimes you have to find out which pos they're going to be docking up at. Sometimes you just got to get the alignment correctly, and sometimes you got to get the timing down for when they're going to undock and come back out and try and rat. So the hardest part is getting this set up correctly, but once you've got that, you should be able to nail them and not have any issues. You don't really have to fit defensively because they're not going to fight back whatsoever. Okay, so one last check just to make sure that we are aligned as close to possible as we can on that center. It's a little off, but I think the edge of our bubble might be able to catch him, especially out here at 100 kilometers. So we'll go ahead and log out now that our combat timer is about to run out. You do have to wait for that to go if you're using that disruption bubble. And the other thing to remember is to turn off your speed mod so you don't waste any capacitor, and make sure you're going to hit that stop so you're not moving after you set up your line of target. This looks pretty good right here. Our combat timer is up, so we're going to go ahead and log out and give this another shot. All right, logging in on our second attempt here. We waited about 10 minutes. I like to wait 10 minutes just to be safe, but sometimes you run the risk of them coming from the wrong anomaly because they finished the last one that they were already at. So as soon as we land here, we're going to throw up our bubble and see if we can catch him on our second attempt at lining it up. Let's zoom out and see if we can get a good look at where he's coming from just in case we miss, and we'll see if he approaches here after a few seconds. Again, it shouldn't take long because they're going to warp back as soon as you hit that local list from logging in. Okay, so let's get set up here. We'll get prepped. Zoom in a little bit just so we can see and wait. There he is. And we missed him again. Maybe that 10-minute logout time was a little bit too long. It seems to be that he's moving from anomaly to anomaly and not going to the same one, or we're just waiting a little bit too long and he's heading out there right away and finishing whatever he was at. It usually will take about 5 minutes to finish an anomaly, so it's possible he's just moving from the one that we had him in line with. So the most frustrating part is having to wait out your combat timer, especially with that bubble, because that other timer is going to be going, and you're just going to have to reset up again and try and base it on another anomaly. This time though, I think we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to log back in after a shorter amount of time, and hopefully he's undocked maybe around 5 or 6 minute mark instead of the 10-minute mark. And we'll try that and see if we can time it a little bit better. And let's log back in for attempt number 3. It's been about 5.5, 6 minutes. We'll see if we can catch him on the warp in, and we'll see if we're in a better aligned spot with the anomaly he's coming from. Once we've determined that we're in the right spot, we just have to make sure that we're getting our bubble off in time. If we don't get that off in time, he's going to pass right through. And hopefully with the 3 hyperspatial 3 rigs, we're able to load in and get into position in time before he warps back. Okay, let's center on the anomaly that we know he's coming from, get a nice shot to see if he's coming in a straight line and if we're in the right position. We'll turn on our afterburner just so that we can approach him and get into position in case he lands here. Oh, he's coming right at us, right at us. Oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Okay, well, I didn't want to have to do this, guys. I didn't want to have to do this technique, but we've been left with no other choice. We know the anomaly he's coming from. We know we're in the right position, but we're just not able to get our timing down right. So we're gonna have to bring out the big guns. Now keep in mind that this next tip is not going to be safe. It's going to put you in a very vulnerable position. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and leave our warp disruption bubble on. We're going to get into a good spot aligned with that anomaly that he was coming from, about 100 kilometers away, just because we want to create that distance. But we're going to leave our disruption bubble on, and then we're going to log out. And by log out, I mean we're going to completely close the game and leave ourselves vulnerable in space. And let me tell you one thing. This will be the most stressful 5 minutes I've ever experienced. Okay, logging back in here. Hopefully my Fiend is still intact and nobody has seen me sitting outside of this pos. And it looks like we're still up here with the bubble, and our Raven Navy issue friend is undocked. You know what that means? He's getting ready to head out to another anomaly. Let's see if he notices me and decides to redock back up. Nope, we caught him right when he was heading back out to anomaly, logged back in at about the 5.5 minute mark, and sure enough, even with a Hictor sitting outside in a bubble, he went back out to try and rat. Let's wait here a little bit, now that we're directly in line with that anomaly after all of our hard work, and see if we are able to catch him on the warp back to his pos. We know he's coming back here because he comes back here every single time, and we know which anomaly he went to because we just saw him warp off. So we should be in line, everything should be good to go, and our bubble has been up the entire time. So if the docking's super fast, anytime someone enters local wasn't enough for you, if the warping back and forth and undocking every 5 minutes wasn't enough for you, how about undocking, heading to an anomaly through a dictor, and coming right back to the same pos that dictor was, directly in line with his bubble? If this was an actual player piloting a ship, if this was an AI ratter heading out just to set his AI ratting up, I'm pretty sure he would not have gone back to the same pos after he saw me. He'd go back to the Citadel. But unfortunately for him, he's coming right back in line, and we have finally caught him after all this time. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this because even though I am rocking about 3000 hot DPS with my Fiend as opposed to my Celestis, it does take a long time to wear down these ships. He is going to have his repper going just because I think it just automatically turns on as part of the program, and I am doing a little bit of manual bumping by going back and forth from the Citadel to him to try and keep him from moving towards the base. He's probably far enough off that I don't have to worry about bumping, but I did want to get some practice at manually doing this in case I had to use it in the future. I've also turned off my warp disruption bubble just so that I can warp away quickly if somebody happens to appear close to me in the combat overview. There is a Citadel nearby this pos that could see me from the overview, so I want to make sure that I'm able to warp away in case a Hell or some other kind of super carrier or large faction battleship undocks and sees me killing this Raven Navy issue outside of the pos. But as you can see, he's not locking me back. He's not trying to burn his way back towards the base. And now that we're in hull, we can go ahead and slow down and watch the kill as we slowly whittle him down at full 89% charge on our focus crystal with our heatsink. Wait.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Warp drive active.
No!
Okay, taking my disruption bubble down was a mistake. Let's go ahead and go over to the sun. That's probably where he warped off to. That's usually an automatic defense set up for when somebody's AI ratting. Don't know if that is the same thing that's going to be set up for a scripter, but we're going to go ahead and warp over here to the sun. I should have faster warp speed than that Raven Navy issue. And yep, sure enough, he's over here at the sun, and we're going to land right on top of him. He warped his 0 at the sun. Let's get him locked back up with our disruption bubble and finish him off. Definitely not going to make that mistake again, and we've got our bubble on him. He's not going anywhere. We're into his hull, even though we are at 0 on our focus crystal. We're going to have to recharge that back up, but it should be okay because he has much lower resistances in his hull than he does in his shield or his armor. So let's make sure we're in a good optimal range. We'll sit at about 11 kilometers just so that we can keep that web on him. I don't want him anywhere close to trying to move outside of our disruption bubble. We want to keep that on him at all times. And as we whittle him down here, we can finally claim justice for our botting friend. All right, so let's go ahead and pick up his loot. This is the guy that got away from me last time. Almost got away from me a second time, but third time's a charm. Now that I brought my Fiend out here instead of the Celestis, it was actually a lot easier to burn through his tank. You can see I did about twice as much DPS. So let's go ahead and get to a safe spot, check out that kill mail, see about how much that Raven Navy was worth. It'll probably be a very similar setup to the one that Veggies got earlier in the system next door. There we go, 11.5 billion ISK, very nice on that kill mail there, and about the same value as Veggies. You'll notice as well, no mid-slot items. Kind of weird. Not sure I've actually seen that before where they don't even fit a mid-slot, but you know what? Maybe it was just a throwaway ship, something to put out there, and they didn't think it was going to get tackled because it has such fast warp back speed. And one last thing I'm going to do that I encourage everyone to do when you kill one of these is go ahead and head into that player's profile, click on that report button, should be back here right there, and go ahead and submit it for cheating, because botting and scripting of any kind is against the terms of service in EVE Echoes, and we don't want any cheaters in our game. So I'm just going to type in here, using scripts to run anomalies. Let's type out anomalies just in case there's a translation issue. Anomalies. And warp back to the base or POS as soon as somebody enters the local system. So hopefully NetEase, someone at NetEase has a way to track this and see if they were running it genuinely. Maybe they can backtrack in the system. I'm not sure. I'm not a super technical guy. I just see something that doesn't look right and I report it. And please, if you are out there and you notice it, report it as well. And if you want to catch one of these things, let me just tell you, they are everywhere. They are in every system, multiple Raven navies in different systems, sometimes APOC navies, but for the most part, I've seen a bunch of Ravens. If you do see something different like this Vindicator here, you can notice that it's probably going to be the guard. Notice how he didn't dock up when he warped back, and he's actually going to start moving towards us. This is what I like to call the guard. This is the one person who's basically in charge of defending the entire bot army, or maybe even the one that's running it. Sometimes they'll undock a super carrier, sometimes it's a VAC, however you want to call it, but for the most part, they have something here to try and defend their little botters as they dock back up in case you're trying to catch them on the Citadel. So something to be aware of for the future if you're running a system like mine where you log out but you're actually still sitting out in front of their Citadel with your disruption bubble up. They might be able to spot you and take you out before you're able to log back in. So something to be aware of if you're going to be out here using a bubble to try and catch these things.
Warp drive active.
So after that Vindicator chased me off from that system, I just headed 2 more systems over, and you can see we got 2 Raven Navy issues here in the same anomaly. So let's go ahead and warp to the anomaly and see if we can catch up to them. Maybe one of them's not a bot. Maybe one of them is an actual player, and it's something that we can engage on the anomaly. That would be fine with me if I just caught an actual player ratting, but as you can see as we land, absolutely nobody here. Now the one disadvantage of this one is that I can't even see the Citadel from the overview. And for this to work, we're going to need to find that midpoint between the anomaly where the ships were ratting and the Citadel where they're going to be docking up. So for now, I'm going to go over here to the sun. Usually the Citadel is pretty close, but we're going to go ahead and complete our scans and find out which scan is the Citadel. Now we're going to have to go through, yep, there they are, docking up at the Citadel there. So convenient for us that their base was put next to the sun so we could see them docking up. We know that that's where their dock up spot is, so that's what we're going to have to do on our scans. Now you're going to have to go through here and you're going to have to complete each scan until you see that corporation outpost. Now my first instinct here was that there was going to be some kind of guard because there were 6 people in local, but now seeing that the local has dropped down to 3 after I've already tried to warp away and leave the system, I'm going to change my mind here, and I'm actually going to go back to a planet or the sun and try to solve all these puzzles and figure out which one is the corporation Citadel. And of course, it's going to be the last one that I complete the puzzle of. You can see it right there, Corporation Outpost. So we're going to warp to the Corporation Outpost first. And we still have our scan result from that anomaly in which we scanned those ships down. So we know that that was the anomaly in which those 2 Raven Navy issues were coming from. Once we get to the Citadel, we're going to warp to the anomaly. And once we land on the anomaly at 0, we're going to warp back to the Citadel at 100. So we'll set it up here. I already know that my ship is warping. And as soon as it's going to be done finishing its warp, we're going to be able to warp to 100. Still waiting, still warping to the anomaly. There we go. Okay, now we can back out of this screen. And we don't have to worry about those NPCs tackling us because we're pretty quick to warp away. And we'll be about 100 kilometers off of this Citadel. Now, I've got a buddy, the system next door, so we're actually going to be able to take out maybe even 2 of these Raven Navy issues if both of them happen to warp back at the same time. So this is Orca Blue 22. This is going to be his first time out here trying to help me take on these bots. And what I'm going to do is just let him know to hold on the system next door because we don't want to spook them. I'm going to go ahead and log out with my bubble up outside of the Citadel and see if we can catch 1 or 2 of these Raven Navy issues before I call in my friend to come and help. All right, we've logged back in. Our bubble is up. I'm going to scan to see if they were still out there ratting. A lot of the anomalies are directly in line with the Citadel, so that's actually really good in case they change anomalies on us. We'll scan this down. And yep, there is still a Raven Navy issue out there ratting, so he's probably going to be on his way back to the base right now. Doesn't look like 2 of them were ratting in the same anomaly, so we might only catch 1 here. But let me have him hold on 1 system away. And hopefully we can catch this thing warping back to the Citadel. It shouldn't take too long because these things warp away really quick as soon as you log in. It might just be pretty far away from the anomaly. So let's be patient. Orca Blue is in position, 1 jump away. And there we go, Raven Navy coming in hot. Let's see if we can stop his warp path. Perfect, slowing down right in line. So we are about 100 kilometers now off the Citadel. I probably don't even need to use my web and my scrambler, but we might just throw it on there just in case. Get this guy fully locked down and go ahead and call in Orca Blue to get over here and come help me DPS this thing down quickly. The quicker you can take these things out, the safer you're going to be, because remember, you're sitting right outside of somebody's base. So if you want to do this in teams, perfectly acceptable and actually a lot more efficient. Just don't be in the same system or log into the same system at the same time. Make sure that they're at least 1 jump away so that these things don't get spooked. Again, this is the same day that I caught the other Raven Navy issue. For some reason, they decided to keep going with their bot operations. And as you can see, another one caught outside of the Citadel, not attacking back, not trying to move, not calling for help, and just another situation where we pretty much have a free kill. The biggest issue is going to be if somebody undocks, but Orca Blue has landed here in the system. We're going to go ahead and let him know to come over to in front of the Citadel. He should be able to warp to me directly from the fleet menu, and that'll put him at least on the outside of my bubble. And while we did have a few issues getting into Inn's Mother from a gate camp over by Conora, we are both here now, and it looks like we're going to be able to take this thing out pretty quickly. I'm already almost halfway through its shield, and shield is going to be the most difficult part of taking down these Raven Navies. He is repping a little bit, which is okay, because that's how they all seem to be operating. And we are fully charged on our focus crystal, so we're going to be doing about 2,000 DPS passive, but whatever extra DPS we can get from our partner will be helpful. Okay, so Orca Blue is here. He's in his Enforcer. Not sure how his ship is built, but all we need is a little bit more DPS. I would have taken an Interceptor at this point just to get these things done quicker. My worst fear is when they undock like a super carrier outside of that Citadel and just take you out, because those things can kill you before you can even get your bubble down. And that's why I usually try to run these setups full offense and as cheap as I can, just to try and DPS these things down before help arrives. Because these ships are not going to fight you back. They're just going to sit there and let you take them out. Okay, so we got both of us hitting him here. We're in a good position. Web and Scrambler on him. We got the Dragon Chant just finished, so we know we were hitting him with about 3,000 DPS there. And we're going to slowly work our way into armor. Let's fast forward a little bit until the end of this fight. I know how much you guys love my 40-minute videos, but I am trying to cut it down a little bit with these fast forward speed editings. And you can see we're just pretty much sitting here whittling this thing down anyway, so nothing really fancy happens. Nobody comes to help or anything. So now that we're in Hull, we can go ahead and end that fast forward, and we can come back to the ship here. I'm going to go ahead and give Orca Blue the loot because it's not really worth the loot for me. It's all about taking out these bots. That's what's really important to me. And Orca Blue actually gets the kill mail for that Raven Navy issue, so he's going to get the 200 million bounty that I promised for this bounty bot competition I'm running. So congratulations to Orca on your kill mail, and another botter or scripter has bitten the dust. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this video. Again, if you're interested in how you can earn 200 million ISK per kill mail of these bots, go ahead and join my Discord. The link is going to be in the description of this video, and if the link expires for some whatever reason, because Discord is weird with invites like that, just go ahead and directly message me and I'll send you a fresh invite, and we can get other people in here to talk about tips and tricks and submit their kill mails for this bot bounty. If you stayed till the end, go ahead and hit the like button, let me know you liked it, and subscribe for future content, as next week I will be giving the final results of the bounty competition to see who did the best on our leaderboard. Until then, fly safe and have fun.